Hello, folks. Dan Kroll here. Welcome back to the Britt, Kanawha, West Hancock Athletics Podcast, episode 72. Spring break week for me down here in southern Iowa. Up north, though, they still have school. I'm with the new cross country and girls track coach, Kamille Goepel. How you doing tonight, Kamille?
I am doing good.
Also known as Seth Goepel's much, much better half. That's how we might just refer to her tonight. So she gave me permission to give Seth a lot of crap tonight, so I might take advantage of that as much as I can. So before we get to Kamille, I have to recognize our sponsors like always. I have 16 of them tonight. Thanks again to all those sponsors for giving to the Sanger Legacy Fund and continuing to promote that great foundation that's been put together the last few years. We have Triple B's Food, Advanced Door Systems of Forest City, Sportsman's Corner in Algona, Miller & Sons Golf Cars, Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company, Nick Schmidt, Jay Hiscox of State Farm Insurance, the Britt Car Truck Bike and Tractor Night Cruise, Levi Don Trucking, Swenson's Do It Best Hardware, Eric Krall of Ag Performance in Buffalo Center, Window World of Mason City, Kelly Real Estate, First State Bank, In His Image Photography, and Katie's Salon and Tanning in Titonka. So again, thank you to those sponsors. And like always, the Sanger Legacy Fund is used to fund our Hall of Fame at West Hancock. We give out scholarships to seniors every year. We support the athletic and activity funds at West Hancock as needed and any other community outreach program in need of assistance and money. If you want to give to the Sanger Legacy Fund, go to sangerstrong.com. If you want to sponsor any podcast episodes, go ahead and message me as well. One thing I am promoting still is the book I've been writing for the last couple of years. It's called On West Hancock. You can see on my screen here the cover page of the book has both Coach Sangers, Coach Everett, and then Al De Leon, Ron Meyer, and Kent Townley. It's a total history of the Britt and West Hancock football and wrestling programs dating back to like 1900. It's going to be about a 550 to 600 page book. I was telling Kamille I have 800 of these things to sell. I've sold about 170 so far. I'm going to run a little special tonight. For those of you watching the podcast, I'm selling them for $25, which includes shipping, but I'm going to knock the price down a couple bucks for those of you that watch this episode and message me on Facebook and say I'm going to do the Kamille Goepel special, which is $2 off the book, $23, in honor of her 2 state championships she won in track and field. Just thought of that about 30 seconds ago, so that's what we're going to do. $23 instead of $25. Please Facebook message me if you would like to order a book or two on West Hancock. I'm going to get that done by June, and they'll be ready to ship out in July. All right, I'm going to hit a few sponsors, Kamille, and then we're going to get started. All right, the Jay Hiscox State Farm Team in Britt's a proud supporter of West Hancock and the Sanger Legacy Fund. Give Jay or Lindsay a call at 843-3563. Nick Schmidt is another sponsor. He's a 2000 West Hancock grad and simply wants to give back. In His Image Photography by Ashley Mosier is located in Britt. She's there for all your photography needs. You can check her out on Facebook. Sportsman's Corner in Algona is the power sports leader in north central Iowa. They offer Honda and Can-Am side-by-sides, ATVs, and motorcycles with a full service and parts department available. Check them out at sportsmanscorner.net or find them on Facebook. And then Levi Don Trucking. Thanks to Levi and his trucking company for sponsoring all these episodes. Call Levi at 641-860-0077 or look them up on Facebook. All right, Kamille, here we go. New girls track and field coach, cross country coach as well. Besides jumping into track season right now, how's the family, job? What's keeping you busy?
Well, I'm married. I have 3 boys now, so they're always keeping me busy. We have 3 under 5 years old, pretty much. So there's always something going on. I don't know. I'm busy all the time, it feels like, especially now with track starting again. We got practice going, so there's just always something.
What are your boys' names again? I know Striker is one of them. I can't think of the
Striker,
other two.
yep, Striker is our oldest, and then we have Saban, and then Sloan.
Do you think any of them will play football when they get a little older?
Oh, I'm sure they all will.
Another generation of Goepels coming through. That's
Yep.
perfect. Yep, I'm
Hopefully
sure.
wrestle too.
Wrestling and football, perfect.
Yep.
Tell us about your husband. What's he up to these days?
Oh, he's still the strength and conditioning coach, so he's at the school quite often still. Um, Still does football stuff, but spring is kind of his off season, so that kind of works out with track. We kind of have that off,
Yep.
on and off there.
Yep. And what do you do for work? Are you at home? Are you working somewhere?
No, I teach at the middle school here now at West Hancock, so I'm
Oh,
the
okay.
fifth and sixth special ed teacher.
Okay. I
But
didn't know.
before this, I was in Forest City.
Okay. I had no idea you're in teaching, so I haven't done my homework apparently. So yeah, welcome to West Hancock.
Yeah, it's good.
How is track going? I mean, what are your numbers looking like this year?
We have about 30 girls out, 30 or so. So it's a pretty good number. Our biggest group is the freshman class actually, so that's kind of exciting to have a big group coming up.
Yeah, that's really good. Especially at a school our size. You get 30 kids out for anything, I'd say you're doing all right.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. So you ran cross country and track in high school. That's where you excelled. Did you play any other sports besides those two? I can't remember off the top of my head.
In high school, I just did those two and I did wrestling cheerleading.
Wrestling cheer. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna get
Yep.
started with cross country. You ran for West Hancock, Garner, Hayfield. And I can't remember exactly when Ventura came into the mix and when you guys became the Wolf Pack, had kind of a different mascot. Was that all 4 of your years you guys were considered the Wolf Pack, or did that change as you went on? Do you
I
remember?
think it changed. I don't think we were with Ventura the all 4 years. I want to say maybe like my freshman year we weren't, and then after that they had joined in. I can't remember for
I
sure,
can
but
tell you the newspaper articles I looked up, it just kind of said GHWH for the most part, and then later on I saw Wolf Pack as kind of the new mascot for the blended team.
yeah.
So yeah, you guys ran with Garner Hayfield. What was that like just in general? Was it pretty seamless going in with a different school? Were there issues? Were there people worried about kids from another school taking their spot, or was it a pretty put together team?
I feel like when we went, it wasn't anything different. Like, I don't know, it just seemed natural that when we went over there, we were all part of the same team. So I don't know, there wasn't any of that rivalry. Um, I mean, besides when we played Garner, then we would kind of like go back and forth. But like when we would practice and everything, there was never any like, oh, well, you're from Britt, blah, blah, blah. Like there was never any of that. All of us got along very well, I would say, as a team. So it was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, and it was advantageous, I think, for both districts because it was pretty split your 4 years between West Hancock girls and Garner girls being kind of in the starting lineup. Without one school, one would have been probably average, and same with the other school. I mean, but together, you guys were state qualifying team pretty much every year you're in school. So yeah, so
Yeah.
2009 to 2012 were your four cross country seasons. 2009, your freshman year as a team, you guys got 13th, and then you were 19th, so you cracked the top 20 with a 16-minute and 15-second run, and the paper said a very cold, windy day. What do you remember about that first year across country? What was that like getting used to maybe a little higher level of competition?
Um, it wasn't too bad that I remember, I guess. I don't know. I really enjoyed having Coach Short as a coach. He was fun and we did a lot of long runs around Garner, but we went back and forth. So we would run in Garner, then they would come to Britt. So it's kind of back and forth, which was kind of nice because then you're not running in the same town, and
Yeah.
we have smaller towns. So it was just nice to kind of switch that up a little bit. But um, I don't know. We had fun practices.
Yeah. And was that Jeff Short? Was he also the wrestling coach? Is that the same coach Short?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And is he still around at the school now, or is he retired? Do you know his story?
I know he retired from most of the stuff, I believe. He was driving the bus. I don't know if he still does, but like a year or two ago, he was driving the bus for some like I think for like cross country meets and stuff. So he's still around.
Yep. Yep. I doing the wrestling football book. I've written and read his name a couple handful of times from the Garner West Hancock meets. I figured it was the same guy. When the
Yep.
Garner girls would come over to Britt for practice, what was kind of your routine around town? Where would you guys go? Would you like outside of town? Would you just go up and down streets in Britt? What'd that look like?
I feel like most of the time we went up and down the roads. I don't remember going outside of town a whole lot, actually, or even on our long runs, not really going onto the gravel, but we would go to hillside sometimes,
Oh,
and
okay.
we'd run on the golf course and do the hills out there. And then sometimes for practice, we would go over to Ventura and run the trails. And then other times we went to like the Clemmy golf course and we'd run the hills there. So he would take us a lot of different places to get a good workout in.
Yeah, because pretty much every meet you ran and had hills of some sort, right? That's just standard in
Yeah.
cross country.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. I don't even like to drive a golf cart up and down hills on a golf course. I get too tired just doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, you got 19th as a freshman. Sophomore year, 2010. The paper said you had pretty much everyone back from that 2009 team. You guys placed fourth as a team at state, and you were 11th. So you went up 8 spots and you improved by a minute and 14 seconds from your freshman year to your sophomore year. Do you remember like the times or approximately the times like the girl who won the state championship, what she would have run? You ran a 15:01. Do you remember how close you were to maybe being top five off the top of your head?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm just curious. It wasn't in the
Yeah.
papers. I didn't know if you had that in your head still for some reason, like, oh, I was
Um,
12 seconds away or something like that.
yeah. I don't think it was super big gaps between us. I don't feel like it was, but
The top 20 usually kind of in a pack, and maybe there's one or two girls, you know, dozen
yeah.
strides ahead, and then it's just kind of a rat race to the top 20.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I feel like at the cross country, it's very like spread out. Like there's always, especially in the beginning, it's like there's always someone coming across the line. So I feel like it's always pretty close. Sometimes you get those kids that are just really, really good. And so they're just way out there in front of everybody. And then you get the
Mhm.
rest of them kind of coming through. But
Yeah.
yeah, it
I'm,
just
I'm
depends
gonna
on the year.
show I'm gonna show how little I know about cross country. Just never really involved in it growing up or even now. You guys got fourth. Did that win you a trophy, or was it just top two, top three? Do you remember? Was there a trophy involved for placing top
I
four?
believe it's top three for team.
Okay. I was
Yep.
gonna ask if it was top four. Where does that trophy go? Garner or West Hancock, or do you each get one of you get a replica of that? I didn't know how that would work.
Yeah, I believe it's top three. I know it is now, but they've also changed things because it used to be top 15 individuals got medals or it used to be top 10 individuals only got medals and now it's top 15. So
Okay.
they've kind of upped that a little bit to how many they give per medals too. So things
So
have
your
changed.
sophomore year, you should have gotten one, but you were one place off.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, dang, why didn't they do that a few years earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going into your junior season, 2011, uh, you got a couple years under your belt, couple top 20 finishes. What did your training regimen look like going into your last couple years of high school cross country? How many miles did you log in the summer? Did you do a lot of weightlifting and work like that? What'd that kind of look like?
Um, we didn't do a lot of weightlifting, I feel like. Um, I don't know. I feel like back then it wasn't as big of a thing to be lifting and stuff for your sport as it is now. Like everybody is like, oh, you got to lift, you got to lift, you got to lift. But back then I mean, it was emphasized, but I don't feel like it was that much. So I personally did not lift in the summers. And running wise, I probably didn't train as much as I should have. I don't know. I was just summer is summer and I mean, I would go out and run here and there, but I didn't put in miles on miles on miles. And if I did, I mean, it probably would have come out a little bit different, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is there such a thing though? This is just thinking right now, running too much. Like, can you train too hard in the off season and be, just completely worn out when the season comes, or it's going to cause injuries and joint issues? Is there, warnings against too much training in the off season?
Yeah. I think you can run too much. And especially, I mean, in the summer, you're working up to your season. So you're not, you don't want to be burnt out and you don't want to be at your max
Mhm.
of you don't want to be your best coming into the season. So you have to kind of know where to start and then how many miles to kind of build up to be ready for the season. So yeah, you can run too much. I mean, because you can run too much and get yourself injured too, which then causes problems.
Yeah, and probably the surface you're running on has a little bit to do with it as well. Um,
Yeah.
Too much running on the cement can probably wreak havoc on your knees a little bit too.
Yep.
No, so that just popped in my head. I had to ask. But junior season, 2011, you guys again went back to state, but you got 12th. So 3 years in a row of the team making it to state. You were 25th that season. Ran a 15:25. What do you remember about junior season? Who are some of your teammates at this time that you remember from first two seasons and that junior season that you ran with?
Um, from our side, it would have been like Emery Stoka. Let's see.
The
Uh,
Burgart one, the Burgart girls
yeah,
run.
April Berger would have been there. Um, she was a grade older than us. From Garner, like we would have had like Maddie Tusha. Um, man,
Kaylee
that's a long time
Weiland.
ago.
Did Kaylee Weiland play volleyball or did she run?
She did volleyball.
Okay.
She wasn't out. I don't think she was out. No, I don't think so.
Jacobek, did a Jacobek girl run?
Yes. She was out, I believe. I don't know if she was out all 4 years.
Yep.
I
I
think
was,
she went out. Yeah.
I was just looking through some of the track season stuff, and I was like, it sounded like they maybe were. So yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, that was your junior season. Like you said, 3 times as a team. You ran all 3 years, top 25 all 3 years. Then your senior season, you became the second runner in school history to run at state all 4 years. Do you remember from the notes, or at least can you remember who that other girl was? This is my
Um,
era, so she's old now.
yeah. I don't know.
Allison
It,
Segrist. Do you remember the
oh,
Segrist
yes, yes,
girls?
yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. She
Yep.
ran, she was my grade, but she was homeschooled, so we never went to school with her, but she
Yep.
was an excellent runner. She ran at
Her,
all 4 years, 2001 to 2004.
yep. And her brothers, we ran with them. So we were like Eric Segrist. I know, I can't remember where he was age wise, but he was in our group there for a little bit. So
Yep.
yeah, we
Yep.
had some of the Segrists around.
Yeah, that whole family, they were all pretty good runners. Um,
Yeah.
yep. And what, did the team not make it your senior year? Was it just you that qualified for state?
Yep. It was just me.
Okay, so I couldn't find that, and then I didn't say specifically, so I assumed they didn't, but I knew for sure you did. You placed 62nd with a time of 16:09. One thing that stood out to me, your freshman year, you got 19th as an individual with a 16:15. And then your senior year, you were 6 seconds faster, but 43 places back. What was the difference there? Like how does that work?
Um, I was kind of looking at that too because I don't know, I don't remember these things very well. So when you had the kind of going through there and looking at the notes, it was interesting. But I mean, that's just how cross country works. I mean, even with any sport, you get, different groups of kids coming through. And so times get faster, they get faster, so then it all changes everything. It doesn't matter from freshman to senior, where you kind of were.
Mhm.
it it just depends who's coming up and kind of who was there and I don't know, different schools, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, never know. What can you take away from your 4 years across country running with the Garner girls, then eventually the Ventura girls, and your own teammates from West Hancock?
Um, it was fun. I don't know. Cross country is a fun sport. You don't get a lot of the drama. You don't have the fighting, the bickering, anything like that. Like everybody has a good personality and it's funny and it's fun and I don't know. It's just a fun sport. So I just remember having a lot of fun in cross country, even if you're running a lot.
I don't know if you saw my face when you said that, but I was like, it's running. How can that be fun? But to each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
I played football and basketball, and I was out for track for 3 years because Coach Sanger pretty much made me. But like even when I was training for football and I went out running or doing sprints, I hated every second of it. But I knew it was like for something else. Like I have to run to be a good football player, but oh, just to run in general, I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. Why am I doing this? But
Yeah.
yeah, to each their own. Some people can't get enough of it, and I
No.
never understood that. But yeah, good for them. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna hit some sponsors, and then we're gonna talk some track. Eric Kral with Ag Performance in Buffalo Center. They're your leader in conventional seed throughout the Midwest. Contact Eric at 341-3361. And I have to give Eric a big thanks. Him and my parents watched my boys for 5 days so we could have some kid free time. So that was awesome. And then Swenson's Hardware is your local independently family owned hardware store and has been since 1977 in downtown Britt. Check them out at swensons.doitbest.com. Triple B's Food is owned by Brett Kozlerich. Brett was my student teacher last year, teaches math now at Panorama. He's owned Triple B's food truck for 5 years now and is expanding the business. If you want him at your next event, give him a call at 641-895-0885. That's Triple B's. Then Katie's Salon and Tanning in Titonka. Check her out on Facebook or Instagram or call her at 515-928-2303. And then Michael Ewing of Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company with locations in Britt, Kanawha, Clarion, Belmont, and Dow's. Find them online at ewingfh.com or on Facebook. Call them in their Britt location at 843-3839. All right, let's get to some track and field here. I feel like this was kind of the two sports, the one you excelled the most in, kind of your specialty, and now that you're coaching it as well as cross country, but you're in that season right now. So freshman year was 2010. Kind of a big deal here, but you won a state championship right off the bat your freshman year in the 1,500-meter run, also known as the mile run, as a freshman. Again, how did you do that as a freshman? What was that like competing with juniors and seniors and taking home a gold?
Uh, I wasn't really expecting it, I guess. When I went out, I don't know. I've watched the video again because my parents had a video. So sometimes I'll go back and watch that and I remember it and I remember doing it, but it's just kind of fun to watch. Um, I don't know. I didn't start in front during that race. I started in the back basically, and each lap I just kind of worked my way up. And on the very last lap, I don't know, just kind of took off. I don't know. I had like a crazy amount of energy left that I don't know. I just took off and it happened, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't really planned in my plan, but it happened.
How much did you win by? Like, how many meters would you guess you were ahead of the second place finisher?
Um, I want to say it was like, I don't know, 30 to 50 meters or
Oh,
so,
wow.
something like that, maybe.
So it was pretty decisive then.
Yeah.
Yep. Your time, that's where I was looking, 4:57.38. So you a sub 5 minute 1500. Was that a typical time for you in regular season meets, conference and stuff, or was that like a PR?
That was a PR. I think I would normally run like a 5:05:10, be somewhere around there.
Okay, nice. I just peaked at the right time when you needed to.
Yep.
Yeah, I had my notes here. Grace Moore of Newman Catholic and Katie Moen of Wapsie Valley were a couple of the girls that finished in the top couple girls with you. That Moen girl won the 3,200, and Erin Reedy of Garrigan was also a name I had in there of some other girls. Did you run against the Garrigan girl and the Newman girl throughout the season, I imagine?
I ran against Erin Reedy a lot. I don't remember the Newman girl, I guess. I don't know. But Erin Reedy, I ran against her almost every meet we were at.
How did you guys do against each other?
Um, we would push each other a lot. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember like if we would go back and forth, like she'd win, I win, she win type of thing. But I know we would push each other because I want to say we were in the same grade. So I mean, it was like every year that I did it, I always had someone pushing me. So that probably helped too.
Yep. as a team, or I mean, as a group, you, Sarah Mallon, Kelly Schmidt, and Taylor Fermonic were 10th in the distance medley as well. Do you remember how you guys did as a team that year? Did you have any other events, or was that it for 2010, your freshman year? I didn't see anything else, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there.
I'm not sure. I feel like we had a couple more, but I mean, they could have not placed very well too, and that's why they weren't in there. But
Yeah. Yep. What was it like running for Coach Phyllis Jordanger? What was she like as a coach?
it was good. She's my assistant now, so it's kind of fun to come back around.
Yeah, better say
It's,
nice things because
yeah, it's funny how that works, but um, I don't know. I mean, I remember her and I remember Mark, so I don't really feel like I don't know, like I didn't pinpoint her as the head coach. I feel like they both did equal kind of things. I mean, and that's kind of how it is now. Like we both have equal roles because one of us has to take some people and the other person takes the other. Um, and we talk about things together and
yeah,
we make decisions together, so I don't really remember, it just being her. I remember both of them and doing different things, together. We always had good practices, hard practices. Um, yeah, it was fun.
yep, good deal. Your sophomore season, 2011, um, the 4x8 team of you, Kaylee Weiland, Maribel Zamago, and Emery Stoka were 11th in the 4x8 with a 10:15. The winning time was a 9:35 by Griswold. When I was doing my research, I remembered Griswold had like a 4 or 5 year run where they were just dominant. They had
Yeah.
uh, some Rebecca something
Rebecca Toppin.
Toppin. Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
I think they won state 4 or 5 years in a row, or they were at least in the top two. But yeah,
Yeah.
they were pretty
She helped
dominant.
them out a lot.
Yep. They were very similar to the North Tama team before them. Before Griswold went on a run, North Tama girls won, I think, 4 in a row with those Dinsdale twins.
Yep.
And then they had another girl, and I'm drawing a blank on her name, but 2009, when North Iowa girls were very good, this girl, I wish I could think of her name, she won 4 events, which scored 40 points, and she won the
Yeah.
state title by herself with 40 points. In North Iowa, won 3 relays and got a second in the 100 and got 38 points and lost to one girl.
Yeah.
That I'll think of her name like when it doesn't matter, but I can't think of it right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, distance medley was 17th with a 4:30.21. That was you. What was it, Derica Jacobek or Danny? I can't remember.
Erica.
Derica, and then I didn't put first names for some reason. Is it Ellie Bruns? Which Bruns was that? Anna Bruns?
Anna. It would have been Anna. Yep.
And then Burgart would have been which
April.
April Burgart. Thank you. I don't know why I didn't put first names. Yep. And then you individually, you made it back to the mile race, the 1500, and got 12th with a 5:13.72 time. What was the difference between winning it as a freshman and getting 12th as a sophomore? What do you remember about going into that race?
Um, it wasn't my favorite anymore. I don't know. I didn't have a drive for it, I guess, anymore. So I think at that point it was just kind of like, I just want to get this over with type
Yeah.
of thing. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't like it as much as I used to. So I think it was just one of those things where it's like, well, I'm doing it because I'm good at it type of thing, but I don't know.
Yeah. It's just like anything. You
Yeah.
can be good at something or knowledgeable about it, but if your heart's not in it, it's tough.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it can be as a teacher, as a anything. So, yeah. And then that year, your sophomore year, Mark Sanger took over as head coach. And by the way, the team at state that year was 23rd in the team standings. What was it like switching from Mrs. Jordanger to Mr. Sanger as your track coach?
Um, I don't think it was much different. Like I said, we had Mark. Mark was there our freshman year, and I feel like they were in the same kind of roles. He was still doing things, and I think he was coming in, and it was kind of like that transition of getting him in there.
Mhm.
So then when, they just switched the names basically to, well, now he's the head coach, but things didn't really change. I mean, we were still doing what we were doing. So,
So did Phyllis stay on as assistant then?
yep,
Okay, I didn't know that.
yep,
And then she's your assistant now, and you took over for Mark, and he still
yep,
helps with the throwers, correct? A little bit.
yep, yep, he does.
So it's just, yeah, just an ongoing evolution of just whose name is on the head coach line. But yeah,
Yep,
I'm sure you're finding out though a little bit that there's a little more behind the scenes stuff um, that sometimes people on the outside don't notice and don't see
yeah,
the time that it consumes you.
yeah. A lot to think about with track, especially lineups, going through those, trying to
Mhm.
fit people in, make sure everybody's got somewhat equal kind of races, but then you got to look at, okay, what can they run? And then where does it line up in the order of events? So there's just a lot to think about and to make the right decision of who you want to wear and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and that's what I know. Like, so when I say Coach Sanger right now, I'm talking about Bob Sanger, my track coach.
Yep.
He was a master at knowing how to put a lineup together. And then he also had Paul Hauge as his assistant, and Mr. Hauge would do all that behind the scenes stuff and the paperwork and the logistics so that Coach
Yeah.
Sanger could focus on the lineups and all the logistics that go with that. I thought
Yeah.
that's what always made those two a good team. And again, people
Yep.
don't notice that stuff or see that stuff. They just
No.
it's easy to put them out there and they run, or they
Yeah.
throw, or they jump, or whatever. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a different world behind the scenes. And then let's quickly go through your junior and senior years. As a team, both years, so 2012 and 2013, you guys were state runner-ups, second place in Class 1A. Your junior year, besides being second at state, you guys won the conference and district titles, and you won every meet but one that season. Again, though, we talked about Griswold. They won the team title with 52 points, and we had 41. So it'd be hard pressed to find like a couple more events to get us those 11 points. So I'd say we're a pretty
Yeah.
solid second. You, Kaylee Weiland, Nicole Burgart, and Maribel Zamago got second in the 4x8. The 4x4 team was 15th. You ran the 1500 again, not your favorite, but this time you got fifth with a time of 5:03.14. And you also medaled in the 400 hurdles, taking seventh with a 106.1. What made you start hurdling? Was that kind of you kind of discovered your niche there kind of late in the game?
Um, I don't know if it was that. I just wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, kind of like I said, I kind of got over the 1500. Um, and so it was more like, well, I want to try this type of thing. And I
Yeah.
tried it and, it worked out well, I guess.
Yep.
Um, yeah, because that kind of took over then for the 1500.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy though, because your senior year, you didn't even run the 1500, the meet you won a state
No.
championship in as a freshman, but then you replaced it with the 400 hurdles and did just as well. So let's get into that senior year. Again, it was the second straight year you guys were runner ups in Class 1A. Griswold as a team won it with 45 points, and we had 39. So only a 6 point difference between winning a state championship. Did you guys think you had a chance to win it? Were there a couple of races where if you would have placed one or two better and they would have placed one or two worse? Did you guys have those scenarios worked out? Do you remember where you
I
could have
think
won
so.
it?
I think there was talk, throughout it, like, oh, we're there, but then they would do something and then, they'd win a race and then they're back up there type of thing. Um, I think we kind of knew though too, like they're good. They have these strong girls and they can win a lot of races. So it was just hard, you
Yeah.
know. I think there was the talk, it'd go back and forth and whatever, but
Hmm. Yeah. Talk about Maria Gonzalez. Uh, she was a freshman that year, but by the time she graduated, she possibly, more than likely, probably the most decorated track athlete in our school for girls. Um, what made Maria special even back then, your senior year, her freshman year?
um me and her were kind of like she was like my little sister almost.
Yeah.
So, being that senior and then freshman, and we knew she had the talent. So I kind of like took her under my wing, I felt like. Um, she was kind of a jokester, so she'd always, kind of be sarcastic and say
Mhm.
goofy things and do things like that. But she was talented. So it was more of, pushing her and making her realize that you are good, type of thing. Because I don't think she realized it at first. So kind of getting that out of her head, like, you're good. You need to work hard. You need to push yourself because you're gonna go places, type of thing.
Yeah, you have
But
the talent. And she was a hard worker too, is what I've gathered in some of my research. She didn't just let the talent do it. She put the time and effort into it as well.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, she scored points at state as a freshman. And then in 2016, her senior year, the team won a state title with Coach Sanger in charge. You guys were 17th in the shuttle hurdle, and then you also placed sixth in the 400 open, and then you kind of ended your career like you started it with the state title, 400 hurdles. You were the 10th seed going into the race, and not even running in the fastest heat. Were you surprised when you won it? I mean, usually they do the slower heat first, and then they build up to the fastest. So you were in probably that second heat. Um,
yeah. I think there was 3 heats, and I was in the second one. So yeah, I mean, I was, I don't know. I don't know if I was like totally surprised, but I was surprised at the fact that I did it coming from the second heat. I think more so. Like I knew that I trained well for that year, and I
hmm,
really enjoyed the 400 hurdles. So it was something that I think I really wanted. And the year before I didn't do as well as I thought I was going to do coming in. So I think it was just like a comeback type thing. Um, but I remember just like feeling really good that race too. But I remember standing there waiting for them to go, and it would have been Rebecca Toppin, and I had run against her and other stuff, and I mean knew that she was good, but just standing there, waiting and watching her go, and like, oh my gosh, what's her time gonna be? And then
hmm,
just watching like the scoreboard kind of basically, and oh, there I am type of thing. But
yeah. Because I'd be curious to know how often that happens. Because I think if I had to guess, 97% of the time, the person who wins the state title in any race, they win it when they cross the finish line. It's probably pretty rare that you have to wait for another heat to see if you're the winner.
yeah,
So it'd be a little different when you won the mile. You crossed the finish line before anyone else. You're like, I won a state championship, and this one you
yeah,
had to stand there and go, well, let's see what happens.
yeah,
And no one would ever admit it. I know you won't hear, but you have to know that in those situations, people watching the other heat have to be like, oh, I hope they clip a hurdle, or something, just so you get.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like no one will admit that, but
you
people
know,
are thinking it. Um,
yeah, yeah. It's definitely a different feeling. Like you're standing there and it's just like nerve-wracking because you're like, you don't know what's gonna happen. But
mhm,
yeah, with the 1500, you cross the line and you're like, yep, I did it type of thing. So it's just that waiting game of like, okay. And then you finally see it and you're like, oh, okay.
yep. What'd you do? You said you trained hard for that. Was it your technique mostly? Like to win a state title in a hurdle race, it's probably your steps and your approach to the hurdle. What did you mostly focus on?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I probably did more like hurdle stuff for that, but I didn't I wasn't a perfect hurdler by any means. I mean, the first time I jumped hurdle, I looked like a deer jumping over something. I mean, I was way over the top, like both legs up, no trail leg, nothing. And even when I continued to do it, I was always high over the hurdles, and you want to be low to the hurdles so that you can get back down and get on the ground. So I never had like amazing technique. I mean, even if you watch my state championship video, it's not perfect by any means. So
Yeah,
it was more so that training, just the running training and getting the speed and endurance built up for it. Um, I must have trained better and harder for it that year, I guess.
yeah,
Because that's what really counts, I guess. I mean, if I would have had better hurdle technique, maybe I would have ran even faster, but
got the
It was
job
the
done.
speed in between there.
Yeah, yeah. When I coached middle school girls at Norwalk with a couple other coaches, the head coach would do the hurdlers, and he had it where some girls were kind of fast, so they had to really work on their technique to get over the hurdle properly, not waste any efforts. And then we had
Yep.
some girls that were really fast and athletic, and he was like, just get over it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like two ways to look at it. It's like technique,
Yep.
technique, technique, or you're super fast, just go. And
Yeah.
however you get over it, you get over it. I don't care,
Yep.
especially at the middle school level. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So in total, you competed in 12 events or races at state meet, and you medaled 6 times with 2 state titles. I'm the chairman of the Hall of Fame committee, and to me, looking through all the stuff, that's like Hall of Fame worthy in itself, especially when you include 4 trips to the state cross country meet, and then now hopefully as a coach, getting a lot of events and teams of state and stuff like that. So uh, before we get to your actual coaching, Mark hung up the coaching whistle in girls track and handed that over to you.
Yep.
What can you say about Mark Sanger and made him so successful, especially coaching 3 sports? He was assistant football and then took over as head football. He's been head wrestling now for a dozen years and about a 10-year run of girls track. What can you say about Mark?
I would say he's really good at like the techniques, the strategies, coming up with good workouts, that are super um I don't know, relatable to your aspect of what you're going to be training for. So in track, whether you're doing hurdles, sprints, whatever, like he just had good workouts in place that were going to make us better, faster, stronger. So, and I think that goes with all of his sports. Football, that's a whole different aspect. And there's the plays and everything that goes in with that. But just like the strategies and thinking through it, and coming up with like, what's the best play at this time, those type of things. Um, I feel like the singers are just good at that. Like they just have that with them. I don't know. It's just something that comes with them. So,
And there's
I,
something to be said too about, like we were talking about putting lineups together. Coach Bob Sanger, just remembering him back in the day, he would squeeze points out of anything in a meet. Like one meet, he's like, if we get one extra point out of an extra event that we're not already in, we're gonna get like from second to third in this meet. So he asked if anyone could run a 2-mile race because there's only 4 kids in the race, and if we enter a fifth, even if we get last, we'll get 2 more team points or whatever. And so
yeah,
he could talk a fullback. Like I remember Mitch Horseman one year ran a 2-mile, and it was painful to watch, and it was painful for Mitch. And Coach Sanger felt bad, but he knew like I can get 2 points out of this event. And
yeah,
I feel like Mark's kind of the same way, just how he puts a lineup together, what girls he puts together in a relay. There's just
yeah.
those things that they're just so good at.
Yep. And thinking about like the team aspect, it's not like they're just looking at the individuals all the time and like, okay, yep, these people are good here. Like this would be good here. Like they look at the team aspect of, okay, how are we going to make this best for the team? Where should we put people? What should I do? Do we need people in field events? That type of thing that are going to get them more points. And I don't know. They have a thing for that.
Yeah. And I look at your junior and senior year, you guys were runner up. So there's a couple trophies in the trophy case at the school right now that if, a different coach was more focused on, I could get this girl a state championship instead of putting her on a relay team that's going to get, 3 relay teams that are going to get third and fourth or something, like it's going to get more team points. Depends on the coach, what you're going for. So you got to give credit to the head coach and to Phyllis for how they put those lineups together and what the focus is on the team. So,
Yeah.
all right, we're going to get to our last sponsors here. Then we're going to talk about your current setup as the head girls track coach. All right, the Showalter family and Window World in Mason City is a proud sponsor of the podcast. Once an Eagle, always an Eagle. Fly high, Coach Sanger and Joey Showalter. Kelly Real Estate is your local real estate agency in Britt, owned by Steve and Deanna Kelly. Contact them at 843-4102. Advanced Door Systems in Forest City is the authorized distributor of sectional overhead doors, rolling steel doors, and electronic openers with offices in 2 locations, Spencer and Forest City. They're ready to serve all your overhead door needs. Contact them at 641-585-1900 or go to ads-doors.com. And then Miller and Sons Golf Cars, locally owned in Britt, family-owned operation for over 50 years. Skip and Jim Miller can be contacted at 843-4132 or check them out at millergolfcars.com. And then we have the Britt Car, Truck, Bike, and Tractor Night Cruise and owner Jared Wingert, also the owner of Mojo Productions. Give Jared a call at 515-408-1074 or go to brittcarcruise.com. And then First State Bank in Britt is also sponsoring the podcast. They're located on Main Avenue and North in Britt. You can call them at 843-4411 or check them out at fsb-britt.com. All right, how'd cross country go? This was your first year as the head cross country coach as well, or am I off on that?
At West Hancock, yep. And I was a head coach at Forest City for 3 years.
Okay.
So I've been in that position. So that kind of helped coming into here. I had the background and kind of knowledge of what I was going to do and how to do things. So it kind of made it an easier transition coming here. But I'd say it went pretty well. A smaller team, obviously. I think we had 6 girls, 2 boys, I want to say.
Okay.
But it's better than nothing. So it was still fun. Like I said, cross country is just a fun sport. So I don't know. It doesn't matter, how good you are, how bad you are, if you're in between there, it's still fun.
Yeah, again, we have different definitions of the word fun, but we'll go with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think your point, though, the fun part is, like you said, it doesn't matter how fast or maybe not fast you are to like put the work in, get your first time, and then run your second meet and see how much you improve by. I think that's got to be the satisfying part. Like, man, I improved by 30 seconds in this meet or 8 seconds in this meet. That's, I'm guessing, is that fun part you talk about. So
yeah.
And how'd you do at Forest City? I didn't know you were the head coach there for 3 years. What kind of success did you guys have there?
We never made it as a team, but my first year I think the first year I had one boy go to state, Joey Hovinga, and he was there all throughout my years, and he was a really good runner, worked really hard, on the off season, put in the extra time, even during the season, would just go out and run. So he did really well. And then the next 2 years I had him and then a girl, Lily Nelson, go both years. So it was fun to have someone down there, all the time and just get to experience that again and cheer them on and see what they can do, throughout the season. So.
Yep. Did you have an assistant for cross country or not with just 8 kids?
This year in Britt, I had, Phyllis Jordanger was my assistant for cross country too.
Nice. So I might share this video with my athletic director. I have 27 golfers this year, and I have a volunteer assistant, but not an actual assistant yet. I've been fighting for a couple of years. I just tell them golf. I spread my kids out over 100 acres of land, and I have to watch them all. Like, how do you expect me to do that? So
and we did middle school too, but I mean, I only had, let's see, I think there was, I don't know, 7 or 8 again, out for middle school. So we only had, 16 total or so, something like that.
Yep, but hey, it's a start.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, like we said earlier, you're the head girls track coach now. Did you feel any pressure taking over for Coach Sanger, or did you feel like it was just a natural transition into the head role?
I feel like it was pretty natural coming in, but I also feel some pressure.
Yeah,
because I know he's a good coach. I mean, I had him as myself, and I've seen his success over the years. So, he's a good coach. He just knows the stuff. So, just coming in and trying to figure everything out. I've never been in a head coaching position for track, so there's always a lot of other things you don't think about when you're just the assistant, like we were talking about earlier. So
yeah, and I'd say it's a good thing to put a little pressure on yourself. I mean, that's what pushes you to do better, is that intrinsic motivation.
Yep.
You said you had about 30 girls out. What are your strengths going to be this season? Are you more in the sprints, the middle races, the long distance, field events, or are you guys pretty balanced?
Honestly, I think we're going to be pretty balanced. The freshman group, a lot of them like to do 800s, 400s, where a lot of times kids don't like to do those things. So that was kind of nice having that big group come in because I think I have 10 of them. And a majority of them wanted to do 400s, and quite a few of them wanted to do 800s. And they're all, came up from middle school having pretty decent times coming in. So um, that helps a lot when you have kids that want to do those things because like I said, a lot of times, they go for the ones and twos, but and some people that works, but you got to have people to do the other things too.
Yeah.
That's just part of track.
Yeah, and it gives yourself a chance to hopefully maybe eventually win a meet in the middle of
Yeah.
the year. You only have X amount of events filled, you're never going to win a trophy.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you guys are in a position where you could get to that point? I know you said you're young, but sometimes girl runners peak kind of younger? Sometimes
Yeah.
freshmen, sophomores
Yep.
end up doing really well.
Yeah. I've heard some different things, but I know when I was in school, it was kind of like, when you're a freshman, you're kind of higher up there, you kind of peak. And then between your sophomore, junior year, it maybe goes downhill a little bit. And then when you get to your senior year, you're kind of peaked back up there, which for me, that's kind of, I feel like what happened. I had success my freshman year, and then sophomore, junior year is kind of like, yeah, still good, but just not there. And then senior year, it kind of went back up. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't feel like our freshman year.
You all right?
I don't know, my screen went black, but okay, I didn't know if we were still on
You're
here.
good. Yep, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so I think, even though we have a lot of freshmen, that doesn't mean, that they can't do the stuff and they can't win meets and help win meets and stuff like that. Um, especially when they're running some of those events that are harder to fill. So I think we'll have some good chances. I don't know. I'm excited to see what we can do.
Yeah, and those first few meets, those young girls are always figuring out when should I push it into second gear. When do I pass this girl? It's just learning and getting that experience of when to make a move on the track. How about field events? Do you have some girls that can do some field events?
Yeah, I have a freshman who came up that did some long jump. Um, and then a junior that has been doing some long jump. So we have a couple long jumpers. We have a couple high jumpers. Once again, I think it's a junior and a freshman, for high jump that are kind of working on that. Which is kind of nice because you have an experienced one with, a younger kid. So they kind of work together, build that relationship, which is kind of nice. And then we have five or six throwers, I think. So, and that's, that's from seniors to juniors to freshmen, kind of all across the board. So that's nice.
Good. Who are the middle school girls track coaches this year?
I know Travis Lenz has been doing it, and he's the coach. I don't know who the other one is. I don't know who's helping him. I can't think of it.
Yeah, middle school, there's usually some turnover from year to year.
Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of middle school, how's Mrs. Verberge doing?
Good. Yeah.
She was my math teacher in middle school, so it's still weird to me. She's been the principal for like 10 years, but
Yeah.
she's still my math teacher. So
Yeah, she was a teacher when I was there too, but I wasn't in her math class. So I didn't have her as a teacher, but I was, she was there. So
yep,
now she's a principal.
yep. She keeps you on your toes.
Yep.
Uh, what do you think about that superintendent at Britt? Is he guy you like a little bit or?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I just got done writing about his 2 seasons as head coach and then transitioning into superintendent. That's been like 11 years now, I believe he's been superintendent. So
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. He was only the middle school principal for a couple of years, I think, or a few years when we first moved back. And then transitioned into that. So yeah, it's been a while.
Yep, I was a long-term sub for Nidra Horseman for about 3
Oh,
months, and he was my principal during that time. And then
yeah,
I got my job at Southeast Warren and moved down here, and the rest is history. So
yeah,
had some interactions with Wayne and talked to him when I see him at games and stuff. So, yep.
yep.
And I haven't made fun of your husband much here as we end this. Who would win a race? 1,500 meters, you or Seth?
Me for sure.
Can we make that happen? That's my big thing. Can we?
Well, he ran a 5K with me once at during a summer race. And let me just say it wasn't fun because I was basically walking.
And he was complaining the entire time,
Yeah.
probably. That's good to
But he
hear.
did it. He finished, so that's
Kudos.
all that matters.
I would not do it. Weightlifting. I'm assuming you're stronger and can lift more than he can.
Yeah, probably.
There we go. We have it on the record. You are
Yep.
stronger than Seth. I mean, he goes to the weight room pretty much just sits on a box and talks the whole
Yeah.
time, is what I'm guessing. So,
Yep.
yeah. So, speaking of Seth, I'm going to share my screen one more time. I got to do one more plug for the book. Seth did buy a book, but I did have to tell him that he's not in it. And if he'd like me to put his name in there a few times, it'll cost him extra. So, again, if you want to buy the book, they're $25, which includes shipping. But if you send me a message and say you watched Kamille's episode, I'm going to give you $2 off the book. So it'll be $23. And again, Seth, if you want to be in the book for once, it's going to cost you a few extra dollars. So again, I had to poke fun at Seth a few times before we stopped. My next episode is the media episode. I have AJ Ellingson, Zarren Egesdal, and Bob Fenske, former and current media guys that covered West Hancock sports. And then I have all 4 of the Sanger brothers doing one episode together. I have all 6 Kelly brothers doing another one. The 1981 boys state championship golf team, and then the 1996 girls state championship track team will be my next 5 episodes of the podcast. Kamille, is there anything else that you want to talk about quick before we hang it up and say goodnight that you can think of that you didn't get to earlier?
I don't think so.
It's like, no, I'm kid free. Just get me out of here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I enjoyed doing this though, and appreciate you taking the time. And I think people really enjoy watching these. So
yeah, and I appreciate hearing that. It's just fun to, I would say, what other school could we do this?
yeah,
We have so much success in history and people that are so supportive of everything West Hancock. So it's a lot of fun. So, all right, well, good luck this track season. I'll be keeping an eye on things as other people will, I'm sure. And go Eagles.
yeah. There you go.